So let's talk about two underrated skills or concepts that I feel like isn't talked about as much. I think we're in an age where everyone talks about self-education and being able to gather and acquire a lot of information. And I feel like that is a useful skill to have, but there's another side to it that isn't talked about much, which is our ability to unlearn and ability to relearn. So to summarize, that is essentially our ability to challenge our past concepts and beliefs in order to be learning new ones, right? And I feel like that really encapsulates self-development. It's almost uncovering and challenging of one's. So there's a really great line here by a legend. In times of rapid change, our ability to adapt sooner rather than later will be our savior. And then we'll kind of break down some of those phrases there, especially the times of rapid change, which is very relevant, right? Especially the introduction of AI and how that whole thing is evolving, essentially. So Albert Einstein said, "The measure of intelligence is our ability to change." Let me just rephrase that. The measure of intelligence is one's ability to adapt, because that's what change really is, right? It's you being able to adapt to a new environment. And that's a very important theme, which we'll cover in the video. Before we deep dive into understanding unlearning and relearning, let's talk about evolution, right? So very top line, evolution is a way in which living organisms evolve over time, whether that's them changing into a new species or being extinct. That whole process is called evolution. But if we apply that to many other things, whether that's a business evolving or an idea evolving to its physical manifestation, or it's an evolution of a person from being a child all the way to an adult, it's a relevant term that we all see and apply every day. So what we do know for a fact is that change is constant. It's not something we can necessarily slow down or change. So if you look at the picture here very briefly, it's the evolution or change that's happened in the economy and how we've created value, how we've made money, essentially. And I won't go through every single era, but if you look at the left side, we were originally hunters, evolved into becoming merchants, and then there was the Industrial Revolution there around the 1780s to 1900s. We started to use machines to help us scale products and basically create and sell more goods. And then fast forward to 2000s, early 2000s, we started creating more softwares to help people using, I guess, the digital age or the internet. There's two eras missing here, which is the information age, which is early 2000s as well. So, our ability to understand and research new ideas and information drastically changed when the internet was introduced, and we were able to essentially research and understand and challenge different ideas that, what we thought we knew. Google being one of those drivers, right? You have an intent to ask a question or research something, you would see a bunch of websites that might potentially answer your question. So essentially, we weren't limited in the information that we could acquire. And then we're in a new era now, which is, I would call it the artificial intelligence era, or AI. And then an obvious tool that everyone's hyping about, talking about right now, is ChatGPT. And then in a way that is an evolving aspect of the information age, right? Because ChatGPT is really deploying more information just from more reference points, if that makes sense. So we did mention that change is constant. A better phrase for that is change is coming. And that necessarily isn't to scare you, it's more of a way to open up your perspective. So here's just a few examples of what's to come. There's thousands. I'll keep it very top line. One is, as we mentioned, AI, and I guess that being more accepted and integrated into everyone's daily lives. That will take a couple of years, of course, but I think I'm starting to see that more and more people talk about AI, both in a negative and positive light. Second thing here is the rise and fall of economics, currencies as well, right? So we'll exclude cryptocurrency, but we'll talk about digital currencies. Generally speaking, at least here in the UK, the government wants to trial digital currencies. So imagine if you were a merchant fully relying on cash to buy and sell goods, and all of a sudden your government wants you to use digital currencies. That is friction, right? And if you're not open to change, you might not be able to have that process anymore, or that might be completely eradicated. You're starting to get the theme of, what adapting to change is. And we'll get back to the unlearning, relearning aspect. And then finally, here, third point, I don't really like to talk about politics, but just for the sake of the video, examples of what's to come or the changes about to come, global political powers and hierarchies within our society. I won't mention any specific countries, but I'm sure you know that one country can always dominate the world for decades. What we do know is that there's a cycle, right? If you look at history, one country might really be powerful. They might even own or control 70% of the global population, but then now they're not even in the top 10 economies in the world. So changes come and go. So now, topic of the video, why our ability to unlearn and relearn is vital. And I've highlighted the word vital because I think it's about rejuvenation. I think the ability to unlearn and relearn brings life to you, and it more importantly brings life to the world. So I've actually asked ChatGPT why this is important, why unlearning and relearning is important. And it gave me this. Because it enables us to adapt to new situations and challenges. It allows us to be more resilient, flexible, and open to new ways of thinking and doing, which is essential in a rapidly changing world. So let's actually be more practical. Let's talk about ways of unlearning and relearning and our kind of frame of mind when doing those things, right? So here's just a few that I feel like I apply every day, and it's rapidly helped me adapt to new changes. So first thing is being able to see the world from a child's perspective or lens. And what that really means is having the ability to be, consistently curious, not being able to judge events, people, or circumstances, and I guess a willingness to explore and get excited about things, right? So when you see a 5-year-old go into a park, they're not assessing, okay, like how dangerous is this place? They're not assessing how can I play? They just go there with excitement. They know they're gonna have fun, and they might even get injured in the process, but they're not thinking about that. They're thinking more about, I guess they're more in the frame of mind of excitement, and that helps them evolve faster. Same exact thing when they see a new toy. They're not judging how to play the toy, right? They just grab the toy and they figure it out. So I think seeing the world from that perspective, from a child's perspective, is very important. It helps you adapt and learn a bit more rapidly, and unlearn as well, right? Because then if you know that something doesn't work, a child will try another thing. They'll try another thing until it works. Second point here, very, very important theme in my opinion, always having a growth mindset. So what that really means is always going through your life from a student's approach. So always having the mindset of the fact that you can learn from everyone and anyone. And even if you do fail or if there's things you don't understand, you know that if you just break it down or slow it down, you will be able to eventually understand and get the point or the lesson. And then finally, it's our ability to be aware of our mind state over our mindset. So it's being able to really be aware of your thought patterns. I think a lot of people talk about mindset, especially in YouTube, have the mindset of being motivated, financially free, successful. What people don't really talk about is your mind state, which is actually more important. So mind state is essentially awareness of your thoughts, your beliefs, your patterns, and that will affect your action post your mind state. So yeah, you can have the mindset of being financially free, but if your mind state is still poor and you're afraid of money or making or losing money, you're not gonna go after it. The universe isn't gonna manifest that as quickly as possible. So that's why mind state is important, much more important than your mindset. All right, so summarize those 3 points: ways to go above our current biases and get into more of an unlearning/relearning mode. See the world from a child's perspective. Always have a growth mindset, i.e. always be a student, and focus more on your mind state over your mindset. So be able to really dig in deep and understand, how do I feel about things? How do I feel about myself? How do I feel about now? I know the first part of the video felt very doom and gloom, but actually the future is bright. I see it that way at least. And here's just a few things that I feel like will help us see a brighter future within the change that's about to come. So renewable energy, that's going to evolve. Medical advancements, widespread acquisition of education. YouTube is a quick way of learning. The increased adoption of telecommuting and remote work, which is great for everyone who don't want to necessarily be physically in an office. Advances in space exploration and technology, and then obviously increase international cooperation and collaboration. I feel like the world will become more united, if not already. So yeah, just to summarize the video, so I feel like the ability to unlearn your past beliefs and really challenge those into learning new ideas or relearning new ideas or concepts will really help you adapt and really help you evolve as a person. So if you feel like this video is really helpful, feel free to share it. Thanks for watching. Any questions or suggestions, leave them below. Till next time, peace and love.